What is up, guys? I'm back and I've got a cool new pedal to show you guys. So on the Facebook group for the sort of the YouTube community for the higher gain heavy metal type stuff, I caught a thread of a guy named Truck Driver Shawn, which I've actually seen some of his videos before, but he was wanting to see if anybody wanted to try out this new high gain distortion pedal that he's got going here. And I'm like, well, sitting there thinking, I really don't use high gain overdrive pedals, but I think it would be really cool just to see what it would do through some of my amps. And so he agreed to send it to me, try it for a little while and see what I think, and just kind of talk to you guys about it for a little while here. So this pedal is not your typical low gain boost pedal. This is a high gain distortion pedal. It is meant to slam either a clean or kind of a lightly driven amp very, very hard and just produce gobs and gobs of high gain sounds. So this pedal, I believe, is the first one that I found on his site, and it's called the Sekhmet pedal, and I will put a description of sort of like the lore behind this pedal, and I guess kind of like this Egyptian mythological type deal, where it's sort of like this Sekhmet woman is sort of like a Lilith type figure just going through and just slaughtering all of humanity. But anyways, it's a pretty cool story behind the name and the pedal and all that good stuff. So let's go ahead and get started to kind of see what I've got going with the setup here. I've got the Lizzy Hale Explorer, and it's going into my Brittone SLO Plus and then into the aux box using a Marshall Vintage 30 cabinet into the interface. And the only thing I've got anywhere in the signal path is the pedal right here. Now, the couple of sounds that you heard already were the clean channel on the Brittone and the crunch mode on the clean channel, showing what it can do with a pretty clean sound as well as a slightly crunchy sound. And this is kind of where the sounds that really allow this pedal to really stretch its legs, much more so than on the overdrive pedal, but we will take a listen to that as well. Okay, now I've got the reverb turned off on the aux box, so it is bone dry, and we will go ahead and listen to it back on the clean channel so we can hear what this does with a fairly clean sound. The one thing I do have to be careful with in terms of the clipping on the signal is on a very clean sound, this thing hits very hard and very loud and can kind of easily overwhelm the input on the interface. Go ahead and set the volume to unity. I'll just go ahead and put everything at noon here. Flip the bright mode on. One thing worth noting with this is that the volume actually adds tons of gain, just like the actual gain control. So we're going to listen to that and hopefully not get too out of control with the actual decibel output. So yeah, tons and tons of gain. Let's go ahead and go to the crunch mode here with a little bit more gain from the amp, and we're gonna pull the pedal back just a little bit here. And as you could hear, there was a point at which it just had so much gain going that it was feeding back, and part of the problem was probably me just sitting right here next to the amp. So we're gonna go ahead and dial this back just a little bit here, go over to the crunch mode, see where we're at with our levels. All right. All right, let's add a little bit more gain on the crunch channel here, and then we'll kick it again and see what happens. All right, let's kick over to the lead channel, and I will have the gain dialed back to as moderate of a amount as I can, just so we can hear kind of how this can, I guess, enhance an already pretty high gain sound. So let's go ahead and hear what it sounds like without the drive on, and the delay is back off again. So that's kind of about the lowest amount of gain that you're going to get out of this this Holdano lead channel here. Once it gets down this low, it kind of starts to just lose its composure. At that point, you can dial in a better feeling and better sounding low gain-ish sound on the crunch channel, and then just obviously call up more on the overdrive channel. All right, let's pull this thing way back here and see what happens. All right, well, that is going to wrap up this video for the Truck Driver Shawn FX Sekhmet high gain distortion pedal. Big shout out to Shawn for sending me this pedal to try it for a little while to see what I think before it goes on to, I assume, the next person to get their hands on this to try that out for themselves. So, but yeah, just crazy amounts of really good high gain sounds coming out of this thing. I was very surprised at how good and organic of a high gain sound I was able to get from a pretty pristine, clean sound on this. And I mean, obviously, once you add just a little bit of grit in there to kind of crunch it up a little bit from the amp itself, and then you hit it hard, man, it just really just kind of goes into this really luscious high gain meltdown of a sound. And yeah, really enjoyed this thing. It's a very big change of pace from the pedals that I typically use, where I'm usually relying on lots of amp gain and then hitting it with more of a clean boost. But this is kind of flipping the script a little bit and going backwards, and the results were awesome. So yeah, big shout out to Shawn for sending me this pedal to try out. And if you want to try one out, I'll have a link to his website down in the video description where you can go and get all the information on this pedal. Oh, and one other thing worth mentioning, I am running this at 18 volts. This can run from 9 to 18 volts, and I'm using the 18 volt supply from one of my NYXL EQ pedals in there. And I really didn't hear too much of a difference in terms of like headroom or loudness or anything like that, or clarity. It kind of sounded pretty much the same going from 9 to 18 volts. One other thing worth noting is that there is an internal trim pot for the mid-range control on this pedal. So if you pop the back panel off on this, you have like one of those little micro potentiometers. You can use a little screwdriver to adjust the mid-range frequency that the pedal operates at. And also, just from an aesthetic point of view, I really dig the artwork. It's very cool artwork on there. Very menacing, kind of befitting of the type of sound you get from this thing. But also, this little soft glow ring for the pedal being activated, I love that. That looks really cool, and it's a very nice change of pace from the typical like blinding LED that usually is on these pedals, especially on really dark stages. Some of those LEDs are just crazy bright, and I usually put a piece of like white duct tape over it so I can still see that it's on, but it's just sort of diffusing it so that it's not just kind of killing me when I look down at the pedal board. Okay guys, that's going to wrap up this video for the TDSFX high gain Sekhmet distortion pedal. If you dig the content, please consider subscribing to help my channel grow and to help get this content out there to new viewers just like yourself. And if you're already subscribed, a big thank you. I will catch you guys in the next video. Take care. Bye.